Rachel Maddow was on Meet the Press, and she does something rare on that program, which is that she actually challenges people with facts. And far too often, there's polite disagreement on that program. Sometimes barely there's a disagreement. And you don't really get to the facts in any particular matter they're discussing, unfortunately, most of the time, because the Democrats are usually way too gentle on the Republicans. The Republicans say whatever the hell they want and run right over the Democrats. That's how it goes 9 out of 10 times. Not when Rachel's on. So she's going to go after Representative Schlock, who is a Republican, and the entire Republican hypocrisy on the stimulus plan right off the bat. And I thought she did a fantastic job with it. Let's go to clip number 8.
Where are the Republicans going to be on this?
Well, look, I think unfortunately it's more of the same. I mean, all of this talk about bipartisanship, and yet the rhetoric doesn't match the reality. As David Brooks mentioned, there was some Republicans who worked with the Democrats in the Senate to come up with a jobs bill, only to have their leadership put the kibosh on it. We are for creating long-term economic growth. You do that by incentivizing entrepreneurialism, risk-taking, and investment. You do that through creating certainty in the markets, through certain tax incentives, and that's where we'll be on a jobs bill.
So it sounds like you like what the Democrats are doing here.
Well, I don't like all the pork that was in the bill. The $787 billion stimulus bill, the largest spending bill in history. One of the reasons why it didn't create long-term growth is it didn't have stimulative tax cuts in it, but rather a lot of pork and spending.
Which are the least stimulative things in the stimulus. I mean, when you assess what creates jobs in the stimulus plan, it's the tax cuts that were put in order to try to win Republican votes that didn't come anyway, that are the least effective thing in the stimulus bill. So the theory doesn't match the practice here. But I mean, you in your district, just this week you were at a community college touting a $350,000 green technology education program, talking about how great that was going to be for your district. You voted against the bill that created that grant. And so that's happening a lot, with Republicans sort of taking credit for things that Democratic bills do, and then Republicans simultaneously touting their votes against them and trashing them. That's, I think, a problem that needs to be resolved within your caucus, because, I mean, you seem like a very nice person, but that's a very hypocritical stance to take.
Well, Rachel, with all due respect, I can assure you Republicans were not consulted on a stimulus bill. That bill was filed at 11 p.m. The night before the 10:30 a.m. we began debating it. None of our amendments were considered. There was no debate, no bipartisanship on that bill.
Let me take it, Rachel, which is the question about you've called for spending caps out of Washington. Sure. But to Rachel's point, does that mean that you will not accept any federal money that comes the way of your district?
No, I think that argument that liberals are making is absolutely ridiculous. With all due respect, Rachel, does that mean you're going to give back your Bush tax cuts that you continue to rail against? The fact of the matter is our country operates and governed by a majority. And I, along with almost all of my Republican colleagues and a good number of Democrats, have voted against the stimulus, the omnibus, all of this runaway spending. But we've lost those battles in the House. And at the end of the day,
but you'll take the money for your district.
At the end of the day, my constituents and their children and grandchildren will be on the hook for the debt that's being created by this majority, and they deserve to have their fair share of federal spending.
Harold, I was in Congress for 10 years. I can tell you, your party ran up a lot of debt. Matter of fact, we grew from the 8 years that President Bush was there. The rate of growth exceeded any other presidents in the history of the nation. So we find ourselves in a moment. Well, no, this president, he's only been in a year. I know you all want to blame him for everything, but you can't blame him for quite everything yet. And I don't want to blame President Bush, but we got to put it in context.
All right. Now, first of all, I love that she called him out on it. Okay. Second of all, Schock did a decent job of diverting the issue. Okay. So what's the real issue here? Not that he's saying, and I think David Gregory misstated it. I don't expect Representative Schock to say, you know what, on principle alone, I won't take anything from my own district because I voted against it. One, I don't think that's realistic. Two, even if I voted, even if you're in his position, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Remember when all the governors, Mark Sanford, Sarah Palin, tried to say they wouldn't take the money? That doesn't make any sense. You've got massive unemployment. It's already passed. There's no sense in letting that money go. That's not the issue. The issue is bragging about it. Okay? And that goes towards Schock's tax cut point. Oh, Rachel, would you have given your tax cuts back? It's not whether you give it back or not. If Rachel Maddow went on MSNBC and said, I got you the tax cuts, after she fought against it, well, that would be rank hypocrisy. And that's what Representative Schock and dozens of Republicans throughout the country are doing when they go to these different districts and they say, oh, look at this great money I got you. Look at this great green project that I brought you. And they're sitting there posing with these huge checks that they're bringing in saying, I got it for you, when they tried so hard to make sure that their local districts and their states did not get that money. It's not taking the money that's the problem. It's bragging as if you brought the money when you voted against the money. That's the problem. And Washington Times, which is a conservative outlet, did a very good story on this, where, again, dozens of Republicans, and ABC News has got pictures of Republicans with the big checks sitting there saying, I brought you the money, and pleading with the government, it's going to create jobs in my district. Kit Bond from Missouri asked for $50 million from the Agriculture Department, saying, I am positive this is going to create jobs in my district, so please give me the $50 million. When the bill was being considered in the first place, he said, I am positive this will not create jobs in Missouri, and hence we should vote against it. So which one is it, Senator Bond? Which one is it, Representative Schacht? Are you positive it's not going to create any jobs and that it's useless? Or are you positive it is going to create jobs, it's fantastic, and you'd like to take credit for it? That's the hypocrisy at hand. Now, ABC News actually did a very good story on this. Now, this is part of a longer story that, funny enough, Jonathan Call did.
The stimulus. Every House Republican voted no, including Phil Gingrey, but somehow back home he seemed to say yes, posing with a giant $625,000 stimulus check for the town of Cedarton, Georgia. Fellow Georgia Republican Jack Kingston also voted no, but he is seen here sponsoring a seminar on how locals can get their hands on stimulus cash.
That was rare good reporting in network media. Nicely done. That is the actual facts in the case. And it's great to see them with the goofy pictures of the giant checks, bragging about how they brought that money home when they did everything in their power to stop that money from coming home. Young Turks.